Murder style, y'all.
Insanity, insanity, whatever happened to humanity? Ooh.
We're going to talk about psychic wars. Are we talking about psychic wars? Yeah, we're going to talk about psychic wars. Right when you guys hear my review, you're going to know why I'm signing. Psychic Wars is a 1991 Japanese OVA anime that has been made by Toei Animation and has been published by Manga Entertainment. That is also based by the manga novel by Yasuaki Kadota. A strange growth on a mysterious old woman leads the brilliant surgeon Yukio Retsu into a 5,000-year-old battle for the fate of Japan, as he travels through time to fulfill his destiny by defending the future from invasion by a race of demons bent on subjugating mankind. When I came across this anime, I was actually excited. I was happy. I was literally ecstatic because before I watched this anime, I saw another anime called Vampire Wars. And I thought this was a continuation to that anime because Vampire Wars was so damn good. It was mind blown. I was on the edge of my seat. I really did love the anime so much, and I wanted to see the continuation of where it led off to Kuki Uzaburo and to the female that bit him so he cannot die from a bullet wound. So I wanted to see how they was going to live their lives. So I thought Psychic Wars was going to be the continuation of that. I mean, even the main characters of both of them looked the exact same. But I was wrong. This is a completely different anime with a completely different timeline, with a completely different character set. But am I disappointed? Psychic Wars was entertaining in its own way. It had its problems. Oh Lord, it had its big problems. But it all led to what was on the table, all the creativity, everything that was thrown at us, but it was not thrown at us in a way where it was all successful. They had so much potential here, man. So much stuff that they could have literally fleshed out. But all this was in the fault of this anime not being longer than it should be. By this anime being only an hour long, we're introduced to the story very, very quickly. Like, as soon as you blink, you actually don't even know what the hell's going on. And they try to explain the whole story synopsis to us by showing us that we are introduced to a plastic surgeon that has a love interest that gets involved into something that they can't pull themselves out of. I do like the concept here, but it wasn't successful when it came to the dialogue and pacing to these characters. I want to feel the build-up before things end up getting fucked up. As we get pulled in by the surgeon, Yukio Rito, he ends up trying to cure this female from cancer. She has like this cancer growth in her body, and she ends up passing away automatically. They don't really explain about how she died, but when he comes back to the to the hospital, the cancer actually grows and it actually comes to life and it ends up actually attacking people.
Dottore, il parassita venga subito al reparto di patologia, presto! Dottore!
Now, what really blew me away in a way where it was a double-edged sword was that Yukio actually tried to defend the innocent people in the hospital by killing killing the infected cancer with this awakened powers that he had. There was two things that was wrong with this part. One, I needed more character variation with him. I wanted to see how good was his surgeon. He was able to take a growth cancer from an old lady, and they showed it, but into to a way where it was like it was acceptable. But I wanted to see his perfection gesture of how good he is of a plastic surgeon by curing other people before this one. And another thing too, by him being possessed with this ability that awakened him, I wanted to see more innovation by him obtaining it in a way where he could perfect it. you're gonna be seeing this is gonna be a problem that's gonna occur a lot in this anime, and this is the reason why a lot of people have been giving this anime a lot of shit. Soon after that, we get pulled into the multiverse with his nurse and I guess you could say love interest Ashina Fuyeko. There are a couple. Yeah, it's clear that there are a couple. You begin to know more about that as the anime progresses. But again, I wish they would have showed more past tense of both of them as they begin to mingle. As soon as the anime starts, she talks to him saying that, oh, don't leave me. I won't let you go. I want you to come with me. I want to come with you into this journey. And then Yukio say, well, I told you it's dangerous. And I told you that you should not go by yourself. So if it's dangerous, we should go together. So at that point, it's like, okay, they're fucking. They're together. So I felt like I needed more chemistry of both of them, so I could feel like you're saying it's dangerous. You don't want her to go. If something bad happened to her, I wouldn't give a shit. If something bad happened to me, you see what I'm saying? We needed more payoff of chemistry and dialogue with both of them. So if they did when they did go to the suicide mission, I'll be like, yeah, you need to stay here because I like you a lot. I can see why Yukio did not want you to go, and I can see why she wanted to go with Yukio, but no, they just went to this mission and we did not care if the seatbelt was buckled or not. But what I did like about this anime, though, is that when it did get pulled into this 5,000-year-old world, multiverse of madness, solitude of just demons and this infected whole little monstrosity that was going on, it actually showed you the main power of the whole art style engine of Psychic Wars. I did like the art style to it. There was some parts of this anime that really did look beautiful to me. This was made in 1991, but it's not really saying much because there was some animes back then that was really done perfection. Crying Freeman, for example. But, and Akira too, but I'm getting off track. But Psychic Wars is very well known for its good anime quality. Anyone that talks shit about this anime or just really throwing it under the mud can't ignore the good art detail here, especially when they was beginning to fight, use powers, or at the same time when the odds stacked against them and the whole area would change. The whole atmosphere would change. Trees would move, the clouds would move, the water would move. It was beautiful, especially when it comes to the old art style of it. This anime was very well drawn, very well executed when it came to the art creativity to it. And I cannot ignore this. This is a very good anime when it came to the art perfection. And with no CGI, hey, I'm going to have to give that very good kudos. Speaking of action, speaking of art detail, when it comes to the power and chemistry, we are introduced to more of Yukito's abilities. He can use weapons. He can summon weapons. He can use blasts. He has strength. And I do like this because it shows you the main power of the whole anime premise of this OVA, which is Psycho Wars itself. But again, I kind of wish we tiptoed around this to see how he was able to obtain it, because when he used it, he just acts like he used it 1,000 times. He's a freaking badass. And I feel like that's lacking the believability. He has these powers, and people would arguably say that, well, he's possessed. But he can think for himself. Now, by him being possessed or by him obtaining these powers, it's a big difference. So I feel like by him having these powers, he needs to at least act realistic. If it was me having these powers, I would literally flip out like, holy shit, like, oh my God, I can do all this. I mean, every Marvel movie has this. Well, most of them. Most of these Marvel movies have this type of gesture where when a person has these powers, they're still hooked onto them being human. So when weird things happen to them, they flip out. They're like, wow, I can do this. Wow, I can break this. Wow, I can swing around. Wow, I can fly. But with Yukio, when he ends up having these powers, he's like, you know what, fuck it. Yeah. It lacks real tension. It lacks realization. And even though how much of a badass he was to this anime, I feel like it would have got us pulled in more if he had more realization to it. I mean, even Guyver does this. When the main character Sho ends up being infected by the Guyver, he flips out. He's like, what the hell is going on with me? They could have done that here. And that's kind of like the major weight of what made this anime flop. But needless to say, it doesn't take away from the overall package of the enemy's interrogation. I feel like the enemies here was very deadly, very powerful. There was times where that Yukio did get caught up. There was times where his love interest got caught up. There was times where the odds were stacked against him to the point where they could really get killed off. So they did not really shy away from the enemy's intentions, especially with their power structures. Each of these enemies have their own little abilities of how they can really fuck with Yukio. I like that because by Yukio having all these abilities, what can these enemies do to apprehend that? And there were some enemies that can use Ki Blast. There were some enemies that can shapeshift. There were some enemies that can really camouflage. There was a scene where Yukio found his love interest and she was just literally naked, just hanging. And when he ended up trying to save her and grab her, it was like one of those cliche scenes or whatever. But then everything just turns dark where she literally just clutches his back and she just smiles at him and he knew something was not right. And she just turned into this big diabolical demon. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, damn, like, wow, Joe. That was really crazy.
Ora sei salva.
Rezzo.
The anime actually has a twist, a very, very shocking twist that really blew me away, but not in a way where I was pulled in emotionally. I really felt like this was a disappointment because by this anime lacking chemistry, dialogue, great character development for us to care about these characters, the twist did not pull me in emotionally where it should have been. I feel like when it comes to animes like this, when they have twists, they have to look at themselves, be like, you know what, this is a good twisting gesture, but I don't know if this will work because of the lack of chemistry. Overall, this anime is at least enjoyable. The anime's major flaw is the fact that it has so much potential. It has so much ideas, but to fit it into a 45-minute time frame, what can you do with all those ideas? What can you do with all that intentions? You put that inside a small jar that has 45 minutes looped into it. Some of those things is gonna pop out, and then when you try to close a jar harder, you're gonna squeeze and you're gonna break the potential of the creativity, and that's what Psychic Wars has done. It has potential, it has creativity, but it was successful. You needed to flesh this anime out to another. An anime like this that has so much potential, it should have been at least an hour and 30 minutes, or in my opinion, 2 hours. This would have been the longest manga film if they would have done that. Anime film, of course, but instead we got kind of the worst manga film. This is actually my least favorite one. I might have to give Psychic Wars a C. This is a disappointment for someone who has the tattoo on them. But I feel like you're going to have a little hit and miss sometimes. I mean, manga, I guess I found they little miss. I've been praising manga to the high heavens. I have been saying that manga can't go wrong, and man. But I'm not saying that this film is completely terrible. It's just the ideas did not land where it should have been. Instead, it crash landed. So, yeah, this is an anime I might fall asleep on at night while I'm busy playing Nujabes. Oh, other than that, that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more upcoming reviews and anime videos. Hit enjoy. This is Hugo, your critic teacher. Oh man, the way that went down. Whew. You guys have a good day.